And look what I can do now. Put the comment on the screen. Thank you, Ian. And thanks, Susan. Oh, right. Robin is asking, what are your thoughts on remote viewing? Now, I am a huge believer of remote viewing. I feel that there's no reason to not believe in it. Now, I also believe that it could be very effective. So, Michelle Freed, if you guys remember, I was a part of that event with Richard and Tracy Dolan, and they did a remote viewing class. Oh, thanks for the gifts over here on TikTok. So, I believe in remote viewing. I think that also what's really interesting about remote viewing is that in that class, some people said that it is similar to shamanism. And I totally see that. I see that it could be similar to shamanism because, as you know, not your typical kind of idea of shamanism of like a chosen person in a tribe or a medicine man or something like that. But shamanism is a methodology that is in all cultures, and it's basically a method to walk between realms, to walk between worlds, people who are able to work in the astral realm safely. So it's very similar to shamanism. Now, what's also could be considered similar to shamanism. Hi, Roxy. Thank you for the gifts. So, what could also be connected to or similar to remote viewing or shamanism also is the Silva method. You guys know I love the Silva method. I think it's, for me, the best style of meditation that works the best for me. And I can achieve the most with that style of meditation. I'm not a mindful, quiet mind meditator. I am like a active, let's get in there meditator. So, also that in a way kind of mimics shamanism and remote viewing and some other methodologies that are in the same realm. Hello, everybody. So we're doing an AMA. Ask me anything you would like. Let's see. What are your thoughts on the death of the president in Iran? Well, I live in LA, so there is a very large Persian community. And so one of my friends is a really big Iranian activist. And it's so funny, me and her have known each other a long time. And it's funny that we both kind of blew up at different times. I in the conspiracy realm and her in activism. And so we're on very different paths, and people would probably not know that we were friends in real life. So I actually do know a lot about the situation in Iran. And, you know, my opinion is that Iranian people are celebrating it. And, that regime has been a terror, an actual terror to its people. So hopefully maybe this is some divine something that is happening. But of course, you don't want to celebrate someone's death, but also someone that has caused so much terror in the world. Okay, let's see. Have you used Russell Targ's ESP Trainer app? No, I haven't. So that same event that Michelle Freed was teaching at is Russell Targ was one of the speakers. So I actually have never explored his work specifically. I know of him and I'm familiar with his role in remote viewing. And I also really want to interview him. So that's something that I'm going to be working on by the end of the year. I have a list of people that I want to interview. And I'm so grateful that I have access to these people right now. And, these people have had these long, many decades careers. And actually, Susan, I think it was your call to Coast last night where you said you feel that I am kind of the future of this information. And not that I'm, creating the future of the information, but that I'm able to kind of bring that expertise that has been worked on by so many people for so many decades, and I can kind of bring it to the modern audience and the modern world in a way. So I really do appreciate Russell Targ's work. I just have never used his app. Okay, any questions here on TikTok? Let's see. Exploring esoteric practices and the metaphysical plane, what is the scariest thing you've seen? Oh, that is a great question and very juicy. Okay, I love that. So, when what's funny is the scariest things that I have experienced within outside of our normal world, paranormal, metaphysical, esoteric, those things, the scariest things that I encountered was before I was a researcher of this. As I developed knowledge in it, I actually have not had those level of scary experiences. A lot of my experiences actually that were scary come from childhood, and that was because, I've talked about it on YouTube before, but people listening on TikTok might not be aware that my grandmother, she practiced magic, which kind of seemed a bit black magic, dark magic, hexes, and those things. So I was pretty scared of that stuff growing up. So up until probably my 20s, I had always had an interest in the paranormal. I was very into aliens, and I saw aliens as kind of a separate category. And so a lot of those scary things were actually from childhood. And then probably the most scary thing that I experienced since being in this information and in this world is when I saw a reptilian. So I know that sounds crazy if people don't know the story, but it's probably over 10 years ago now. It's probably 10 years ago. It's probably 2014 when it happened. And very briefly, if you guys want the full story, I have a YouTube video called like my UFO experience, where I talk about the UFO experience. But then at the end, I just start kind of talking about all my experiences. And then that's when I talked about when I saw a reptilian. And so, very abridged of how that happened was basically um, I had been kind of like I said, I was very scared of magic and very scared of like when I was a kid, or in high school even, people would go into like a botanica. You would not catch me going in. Other friends would be like, "Oh, let's see. It's like a witchcraft store or whatever." I was like, "I will wait out here. I know the power of witchcraft. I've seen what it's done. I've seen people get hurt by hexing. I've seen people get sick from hexing, and I don't want to go in that place." And I was afraid to engage in that stuff, actually. So, around the time that I had moved to LA, I started getting into more metaphysical stuff, in a way that was more comfortable. I was like, observing it in a way. But then I was like, oh, okay. And, I kind of went to like a little shop and got myself some little things and did little crystal grid and little ceremony. And, I talked about it on my Substack that I did a ritual underneath the blood moon, not a blood ritual, the blood moon, which is like, when the eclipse happens and it turns red. So it was a blood moon eclipse, and I did a little ritual, nothing crazy, just like some crystals and water and salt and stuff, like, just like basics. And I had a podcast at the time, and my podcast went to the top 25 podcasts in on iTunes. It like literally was below Joe Rogan and above Adam Carolla. Like I have a screenshot of it somewhere because and this happened about like 10 minutes after the ritual. Now I did have a launch plan. I did have really good guests. I had Amy Schumer on. I had also an episode that I promoted. So it wasn't just completely magic. It was the groundwork. And so basically, um, as I started to use magic a little bit and explore, I did notice that there was a big shift in my life and things I started to feel like someone says, "Why, Amy?" Because this was 10 years ago and Amy Schumer was my friend at the time. Not that she's became not friends. It's just that we were just not super close. If I see her, we say hi. I just, yeah, I've lost contact. But So there was a big, nice launch on top of the magic and the ritual. So around that time, when I started dabbling with that stuff, I almost started to feel like my natural protection that I've always had because I've always lived in, dangerous neighborhoods and all of this stuff. And I always felt protected no matter where I was, no matter the situation, I always felt protected. And when I started dabbling with a little bit of ritual magic and item magic stuff, nothing bad, nothing hexes. It was all really just like very intentional manifesting. But then I started to notice some crazy things happening in my life, and I felt like I was not like spiritually protected anymore. And so one morning I was going to work, and at the time I didn't have a car. So I was waiting at the bus stop, and this person is walking down the street holding a hoodie over themselves, casting a shadow, a big dark shadow. And I'm like, huh, that's interesting. Just this person is weird. And their shirt was pulled up and they had their body was very androgynous. It was like it was a male's body, it was crazy, crazy ripped, like very skinny, but very like I could see every muscle, every tendon in this person's body, and they were walking in this like seductive. It honestly was like Selma Hayek in From Dusk Till Dawn, and was like and I was like, "Oh," and my eyes were open, and I was just like, "Huh, who is this person with a weird black shadow around them? They're holding a hoodie to create a shadow, and they're doing all of this." And it wasn't even I had it was a second. I didn't have much time to judge the situation, but I look over and look at them, and this person zooms into me. And then as they zoomed into me, their shirt was different. They were wearing a shirt, and then the person zoomed into me, and I was like, and what was interesting is the energy was very, like, sexual feminine, but when this person noticed me looking, the level of, aggression was very highly masculine and very dangerous feeling, like, I felt like I was about to get punched in the face. And so, this person starts screaming at me, and he's like, "Can you see me?" And then I'm taken aback by it, and he's like, "Can you see me?" And I'm not answering. And then he screams, "Can you fucking see me?" And then me. I mean, I can't. I can only contain my aggression so much. I can only resist so much. And so I say, "Yeah, I fucking see you." And then he rips off his glasses and has one human eye and one yellow reptilian eye, like a snake's eye. It was with a slit and it was yellow, and this one was human and this one was um yellow. And I was like, and it was so fast. And he said in like the most like I can't even do it as scary as the way that he did it. And he like went like that and like started like touching himself like in like this weird kind of snaky sexual way. And he said, "Good, because I'm the sexiest thing you're ever gonna see in your whole fucking life." And then spits in my face with like the most precision that it gets into my mouth. And I was taken aback. And also, like, I literally just saw this person having a fucking giant snake eye. So, and then they left. And it was so weird because the people at the bus stop were looking at me like I was crazy, like as if they didn't see it. And I had the spit on my glasses, and TMI, I could taste it. I could taste it. I still remember the taste. It was so disgusting and it stayed in my throat. And um I had the spit on my glasses. So I knew that it was in this dimension. I had spit on me. And so basically then you know, later on, I years later, um when I went under hypnosis, I asked what that was. Was it a reptilian? What the hell was that? Was that a targeted attack? Was it coming after me? And basically, The answer that I got in hypnosis was that it was not like a targeted attack. It wasn't like this was like coming specifically for me. But when I looked at this person, it said that my energy pissed it off. So it was basically like it just saw me and was like, "Screw you, bitch," you know? So, that it was kind of the veil was pulled back. You're so right. That is exactly what, I think it was, is I think when I was started to dabble with this, and because I have, like, that family history of, like, you know, some dark magic, um, I cannot touch that stuff. So that's why I don't do anything with magic. I don't do anything with, witchcraft specifically. I believe in, like, quantum mysticism. What did it taste like? Whitney says, like stale spit. Someone else's stale spit. Okay, Joe, thanks for the super chat. Check out my UFO footage, thanks. So anyone who's interested, go over to Joe's channel and check out his UFO footage. All right, let's see, is there another? Have you read Earth Power by Scott Cunningham? I have not. Ooh, yes, you're so right, Ian. The question part of the interaction, how sometimes these beings almost need um a sometimes they ask you a question, to kind of get you to either say yes to something, or maybe sometimes people use it as kind of a way to make you consent to something. Natasha says, "Me now realizing that your reptilian encounter probably also happened because of your gray connection. I wonder." That does make sense. Because who knows? He said he didn't like my energy. Who knows what that means? What my energy is. Oh, right. Do you manifest or did I stop? So I still believe in manifestation. I do think manifesting is important. However, over time, I have really learned that the universe knows better than I do. So I am mostly manifesting my highest good, my purpose, what I'm meant to do, prosperity. But less am I manifesting specific things because almost every time that like I really want something and it doesn't work out, and then I push it, whether through manifestation or just like through force of will, I always end up realizing why the universe did not give me that, why that was not in my path. So I've really come to, so I still do manifest, but this is why I say I'm more towards the quantum mysticism side is that, like, I want what's good for the whole of the universe. I want what's good for me and the people around me and people that I can help. But I'm not a big fan of manifesting specific things, and personally, I don't like to use, items and do ritual magic, just because, like, I feel like when I've done that, um hold on, I just need to block someone really quick. Okay, let's see. Oh, what a great question. How does one find forgiveness? I love that question. So, oh, you said you were a let's see. How do I make you a I don't know how to make you a mod. Hmm. It doesn't come up as an option. I would make you a mod. But I don't know how. So, the question was, how does one find forgiveness or learn to forgive? And I think that that's such a um powerful question because we all need that. We all need to learn forgiveness. So now the first thing about forgiveness is that it is not for the other person. And I highly suggest not telling them that you forgave them. That might be me being a little petty, but I don't think that people necessarily deserve the apology. I mean, deserve to know that you have forgiven them. Let them sit with their actions, and that's for them. They need to sit with their own actions and they need to figure out why they did it. And so it's not about letting people off the hook, because I don't suggest forgiving and telling them. But the biggest part about forgiveness is that it needs to be for you. And forgiveness takes a long time to get there. So, when I was first told that I needed to forgive my father, which I didn't want to do. And then a Reiki healer had told me in around 2016 that I needed to. And it took me years. It took me years to be able to find that, even though I knew consciously that not forgiving was causing certain patterns or certain frequencies in my life. I still, from my heart, did not feel that it was okay. I still did not feel that I could find forgiveness. So the first step of finding forgiveness, I think, is finding understanding. I think understanding is a good pathway to forgiveness. So with understanding, sometimes we can, maybe for the example of, let's say, a parent, we need to forgive a parent for our own health, because honestly, if you guys don't forgive, this is where illness comes from. And don't take my word at face value, but I don't want to get sick over something that I'm harboring because of what someone else's actions. Imagine holding something that's making you sick because of something you didn't even do. If you're feeling guilty about your own actions, that's one thing. But you do not deserve to sit there with something of someone else's. It is not yours. So, that's why I think the path to forgiveness is first understanding, because forgiveness has to come from the heart, but understanding can come from the head. So it is a little bit easier to work with the mind. And so what we need to do is say, what was the circumstances? Almost every time when someone is hurting another person, it's because they're actually sadly doing their best. And sometimes people's best is absolute shit garbage. And that sucks. And trust me, it sucks more for them than for you that their best sucks. And so sometimes we might say, oh, my parents, this or that. But then we're like, well, they only did what was available to them. They didn't have the tools. They didn't have access to all of the information that we do today. They don't have these easily digestible platforms like, something like this, where we can have an open discussion on social media about forgiveness. They were not given those tools. Also, for them to not have the knowledge and intelligence a lot of time. There was only 3 TV channels and just their newspapers. People didn't understand a lot. And there was these horrible generational cycles that have been going on. So, first would be to understand their situation and say, okay, they had alcoholic parents, they had an abusive parent, they had a hard upbringing. Now, that doesn't make it an excuse, but it does mean that they didn't have the tools to do the right thing by you. Now, sometimes let's say it's something worse. Let's say it's forgiveness for something that is unspeakable on TikTok Live. And so let's say we're in that realm and it's someone who has committed some type of horrible act on you or on another or someone you care about. That is really hard to find forgiveness, and it's hard to find understanding because you're angry and upset about what they did and can't imagine, how could you find forgiveness when you can't even understand why someone would ever do something that is so bad or so horrible. However, the important thing is that um, most of these people are coming from a very dark place and they are very wounded, hurt, like someone said in the comments, hurt people hurt people. So with that, we have to understand that that person, this is their actions. And then not something for you to identify yourself with. This is also why I don't identify with the language connected to the topic of, I'll say for TikTok, SA. And a lot of times I don't personally agree with the terminology. I don't believe in using the words like victim of SA or survivor, um, just because I don't believe in defining yourself by someone else's actions. Whatever anyone wants to identify with, if it makes them feel empowered, um, then more power to them. However, that to me makes it very difficult to separate from, not from the situation, not to associate, but with, um I would never define myself by somebody else's choice, by somebody else's poor decision, by somebody else's inability of self-control, or by someone's worst day, you know? So that's why I don't identify with that, because I believe that that's part of forgiveness and that's part of working through it. And then understand that forgiveness takes time. It does take time. And eventually it will chip away. It's not a contest, there's no deadline. But one day you'll slowly get closer to understanding. And the more that then you can take that from the head and bring it to the heart, the more it will turn into forgiveness than just understanding. Also, the ayahuasca helped me a lot. Sometimes mushrooms help people, but also, I wouldn't suggest relying on substances for these things, because they're also not a shortcut. You can't just skip over the mental work. Oh, thanks, Susan. Okay, let's see. Questions. Let me check on have you seen that Dr. Greer released his archive online for all of his disclosure documents? Oh, no, I haven't actually. I have to check that out. To be honest with you, I have not been in like a researcher mode. Like right now, no offense, not to sound cocky, not trying to sound cocky, but I don't know how much more there is for me to learn on this topic, right? Like of course it is exciting. But for right now with this slow drip disclosure, I don't think there's nothing new. I don't think there's nothing that hasn't already been out there and been circulating. So until there's some real breaking news, I'm conserving my energy. Okay. Shauna says this explanation of forgiveness goes along with what you were speaking on Coast to Coast about no evil. That makes me understand why we should work on forgiving. Totally true. Like that's what it is that this like what we believe to be evil is mostly wounded people, like very wounded, very damaged people. And when we can start to have more compassion for the way that those people are, and that it's much worse to be them. That's one thing that whenever people have wronged me, or especially like say cheated on me, because that had been a big theme in a lot of my relationships. With that, I felt like I was cheated on, and I most certainly was. However, now with more compassion, I'm like, damn, it sucks worse to be them. Even though I probably have, oh my God, there's like this new thing that people are saying. It's like something. It's like PTSD, but it's a different lettering, and it's about infidelity. It's like post traumatic infidelity syndrome, something. Like, it's about, like, the trauma that it's caused from being cheated on and betrayed in that way, and I was like, "Oh, ooh, that's a little close to home." Um, However, so it's not that those things didn't affect me, but, now I can kind of see that, it's worse to be them. Imagine being the person who is actively harming and actively hurting the person that you love most. So I think that that's one thing to keep in mind, but that takes time, and that takes so I'm not saying for anyone needs to rush into these. Ooh, Natasha said, how was my coast to coast interview? So I did that last night with George Noory, and it was amazing. So when I first got on, I was not only nervous, which I usually am not nervous because I usually can just like shut down nervousness. But now, as I'm becoming more in my feelings and more in my heart, I realized that I do get more nervous than I ever have before. Also, this was a big thing. This is a big syndicated show, nationally syndicated and live. And then also, I was having technical issues when I first came on. I was hearing an echo. So I was going to just blast through it and ignore the echo. And then as I started like talking, I was getting distracted by my own echo. So then I had a little bit of a rough start. And but then once I got like once the echo was gone and I had my headphones and everything was normal, I got everything right. Live on live air, having a technical issue on live air. I even did it on Coast to Coast. Are you shocked? No. No one on the Tuesday Night Live is shocked that I had even a technical issue on Coast to Coast, where you have a whole entire team from iHeartRadio and professional broadcasters. But it was on my end that I was having the issue. So, but once we got past our little hump, it was amazing. The interview was incredible and I loved it. And then what was funny is that, I got into my topic of what the ayahuasca had taught me about good and evil, and that triggered the hell out of people. So then all the callers were calling in and they were like, "Listen, Miss Jennifer, um, I need to know about your relationship with Jesus. Can you please explain the relationship you have with Jesus if you have one?" And then and then I would say that, I don't worship anything. Um, and then the next person was like, "Well, if you accept Jesus Christ in your heart as your Lord and Savior, then you get eternal life. And if it's wrong, then what did you miss? Nothing. You got nothing to lose by surrendering to Jesus." He's like, "However, if you don't surrender to Jesus, do you want to risk eternal damnation?" And I was like, well, I'm not going to make a decision based out of fear. I'm telling you right now, I am not going to make a decision based out of fear. Like maybe if I was like on the ledge of a building, I'd make a decision based off of fear. I'd back up. But as far as my beliefs and the greater scheme of the universe, I'm making those decisions out of love. I'm making those decisions out of compassion. I am not making those decisions out of fear. Oh, cool. So, yes, I was also on Jimmy Church. So, Empowerment Activist is saying she watched me on Jimmy Church and that it was phenomenal. Thank you. So, that was also so fun. Oh my God. Jimmy's was really fun too because Jimmy Church, he also did QHHT with Sarah Brexman Cosme, and he was having the same type of experience that I did, where you kind of feel like your conscious mind is like sitting here on a chair, and then like your higher self is kind of running the show here. It sounds like they were triggered. Oh, they were triggered. And then after I said that I didn't worship Jesus, and then George Noory started, then he was like, "Well, what do you think about angels then?" And I was like, "Well, I mean, I don't worship angels, but I do feel a connection with Archangel Michael." So I'm sure that made it even crazier for people. Oh, cool. You're going to take the hypnosis course. Fun. Oh, thank you, Sarah, for the feathers, the gift. That was cool. So let's see. One of the other things, what was I going to say? Okay, next question. Oh, I actually did do a QHHT session this weekend on my friend, and it was amazing. And it's just like, when I do the QHHT, when I put people under hypnosis, which I'm going to start doing online, and like I said, it won't be allowed to be called QHHT when I do it online. So it will be the same technique, but out of respect for Dolores Cannon. Dolores Cannon never wanted her technique to be used digitally. So with that, I am not going to call it QHHT. However, it will be the same method. So I'm going to start doing the hypnosis sessions one-on-one. It's going to be so limited. Like, do you do sessions on others regularly? So I had only done these on people in my life, friends and people like very close to me, especially if a friend is having an issue, not just for mostly curiosity. I would do it if like my friend was having like a medical situation or needing some like guidance severely or having like a fork in the road in their life. So, um, with that, I so I don't do them super often, but what's amazing about it is that it's like it clicks in. Like it clicks in and you kind of have those little bit of nerves of like, "Oh, I haven't done this in a little while." And then once it starts, I'm like, "Oh, oh baby, we're flowing here and this is so good." And I just feel so good doing it because I know when I went under hypnosis that part of my purpose is to help people remember their purpose. And I've, in some ways, done that with the work that I share and the series and the information that I've given. And I feel like, I've done that in this aspect, but when you get to do it one on one and really have a person under hypnosis and ask them what their purpose is while they are in a trance state, and then they tell themselves the answer in their own words, there is no denying it. There's no, because as much as I share the information, people can still doubt themselves. But when you're under hypnosis and you are talking about yourself in the third person, saying stuff that clicks and resonates on such a deep level, there's no denying, there's no questioning it. And everybody thinks their purpose is a job or this, or I should be doing this or this or this, or an author or this or this or that. Uh, Not once has anybody ever said a damn job. Okay. Not once. Let me tell you that. Usually it's to do something. Um, so to do something. So, my friend recently was to lead others that are on this path. For another friend was to make people laugh. Another friend was actually to relax, which sounds like a crazy purpose, right? It seems like, oh, is that not enough? It's not changing the world. It's You're not here to carry the weight of the entire world on your back. You are here to be one puzzle piece of something really big. And sometimes that person who has had a very difficult life learning to relax when they were never allowed to as a child is breaking generational curses, is breaking karmic curses, is healing their soul, is healing their past lives. They're healing their children that will come. So people sometimes need to think a bit more. I don't want to say smaller because it's still big to, you know, even something like relax. It still is something big because it's a purpose. It's a life purpose. So, um that's one thing that, is the most fulfilling to me. And then so when I kind of like got back into it and it was great and she was under so deep and the information that was coming through was so good and it was like everything was so on point and I'm like, "Oh, this is why. This is why I learned this method, and this is like w- what I need to do." It's one component of what I need to do. It's getting very bright, but this is because the sun is moving right now. Okay, let's see. Um, Turn racing. Hello. What is synchronicity? I realized earlier today from Bashar that my own PITD, post infidelity trauma, okay, is probably responsible for my own imposter syndrome. 10 years of believing my own lie that I'm not enough. Thank you, Bashar. Ugh. And thank you for the super chat. So yeah, my goodness. And the one thing that I have really learned in this, as you guys know, I've talked about it a lot on the Tuesday night lives for these last couple months because I was struggling to even get to the lives for these past couple months. Because as you guys know, I had that crazy experience at Conscious Life Expo and I was going through fucked up shadow work, dark, demonic shadow work. And so, but really, I mean, I'm so grateful for it. Do not be scared of shadow work. Do not be scared because it literally, going through it was hell. And like it really was, it was terrible. However, getting through that and feeling that I'm on the other side of it is like, oh, wow. even though it was hard in the moment, I would rather go through the hard shadow work now than to keep living my life this way, a way that I didn't even realize I was living. Just like you said, turn racing was a way that I didn't know that I was living is like you were saying that you were feeling for all these years that you weren't enough because of a cheating in a relationship. And it's like those things are there and they're in every single thing we do, every decision we make, every step we take, everywhere we go, every interaction. There's that little thing that is still there. So even though it sucks to go deeper into the darkness, deeper into the shame, deeper into the guilt, deeper into the self worth wounds, deeper into the trauma, it feels horrible to go through it. But then you're like, wow, now I get to start living. Now I actually get to start living. I get to start actually feeling more than I could. I get to start j- being a part of life in a new way. I get to go somewhere without all of these different ideas of like, like for example, I use the example of like dancing and stuff. So with dancing, I don't like to dance. I don't like to be making a fool of myself. And so who does, right? But dancing is our inherent innate right of this body to enjoy this body, to live in the human experience in a way. And I had been limiting myself from that because of my own self-worth issues. I was worried that if I don't know, and I didn't know at the time, I was just like, oh, I'm not a dancer. I'm just not good at it. And like, oh, I just don't find it fun. But we're lying to ourselves when we say those things because it is our God-given right to enjoy being in the body. To That's one of the pleasures of living. And so going to a friend's wedding and not being able to dance because of all this shit in your head is another way that you're not living your life fully. So, it's so important that we do go into the shadow work and don't be afraid of it because this real scary thing is living the rest of your life the way you've been living it and not being able to get out of it and not even know that you're the one that's doing it. So, I'm a big believer of that. Okay. Someone says Jesus allows it. I'm not sure what that means. Um, oh, wow. Stella, this is going to be a question not everybody's going to like. Okay. My answer, I mean, the question. Okay. So, what is your opinion on open and polyamorous relationships? Let me tell you. I have lived, I have explored, I have done more than y'all can imagine, okay? I'm not, you know, I'm not a virgin. I've lived a very adventurous life in many different aspects, especially those aspects. However, I am not a fan. I am not a fan. I think that maybe as a concept, people when they talk about the concept of open relationships or poly relationships, people the concept makes sense. Like, "Oh, why would you be with one person your whole life?" Or like, um, "That's not biologically what makes sense." I understand the concept, and the concept is not what I have an issue with. I have an issue with the execution of it. Because most people that I see, and maybe they're lying to themselves, but a lot of people in open relationships should break up, okay? You're not compatible, your relationship has ended, and you're too afraid to cut the cord. So you're pulling a third person in to avoid what needs to happen. Like most people that I know that are in open relationships, it's because you're supposed to fucking break up and you're too afraid to. So now you bring an unwitting victim into your shit show of a relationship and traumatize this other person with your shit that you're never going to get over because you got to break up. And then on top of that, you're not giving that third person what they deserve either. And then the other thing about that is it doesn't help the original relationship. It actually causes more insecurities, more issues, more fights, less trust, this and that, and just break up. Okay. Break up. When people say, like, oh, I don't want to be with the same person in forever, then break up with them. Why you got to drag more people into this shit? Shit show of a relationship that you guys don't even want to be in, that you guys threaten to leave every day. I don't do the open relationships. Can you tell? Now let's talk about poly for a second. What the fuck? My fucking upstairs neighbor. Oh, maybe my upstairs neighbor is a poly ringleader. Maybe that's what's happening. Um, oh, they're banging harder. How many girlfriends do you have, asshole? Okay, so, I love this live. Everybody's like, "This is the live that we actually want on Tuesdays." This is what I'm saying is ask me the hard questions, guys. Ask me the controversial ones. Some I'll answer and some I won't. So, the poly stuff, um, it can work for some people. I personally feel that most times when I see people in polyamorous relationships, someone's feelings are getting hurt. Someone's feelings are getting hurt, or someone's getting gaslit, or some narcissist is convincing someone else into doing something and to feeling like, and now this is the other thing too, is this comes back to the being enough and the self-worth. I was very much in the situationship field. I was a master. Before situationship was even a word, guys, I was the situationship master, and this is one thing that us millennials, if you are a millennial here, we need to take fucking responsibility for what we messed up. We made a huge mistake as millennials by completely destroying relationships in like less than 10 years. Like it's like relationships lasted for billions of years on this planet. And then at least we know for the last 5,000 years, relationships have lasted. It took millennials 10 years to destroy it altogether. And it's personally somewhat my fault too, because I was into the situationship situation. I was an advocate for the situationship situation. However, now through this deep shadow work, and I mean, I'm way out of the situationship category from a long time ago. I'm in the celibate category now. I'm an incel, okay? Not really involuntary. It is voluntary, but it's because of the options. It's not like I got the best lineup to choose from. So it is somewhat involuntary. Um, so um, but with that, like, I realize now the reason that I didn't want to be in committed relationships came back to this one, like Turn Raising was said, the post infidelity trauma. So I had been cheated on in the past and I had trauma from that I still wanted closeness and intimacy and I still wanted some partnership, but I felt like I wasn't going to be able to get that in a way that was loyal. So I wanted to get rid of the commitment instead of saying, like, no, well, then I'm just going to wait until I'm going to find someone that's worth that commitment or whatever. But it was kind of like I thought I was hacking the system. And I feel like that's kind of what happens sometimes in the polyamorous situation. There is a self worth issue somewhere of people thinking that they are maybe not worthy of a true partnership or that someone could be a partner to them and they don't have to share them, to each their own. But I'm allowed my motherfucking opinion too. Okay. So to each their own. That said, my opinion. Okay. Um, okay. We're getting to the personal questions. Have you ever dated a woman? Dated means a lot of different things. So, have I had sex with a woman? Yes. Have I had a girlfriend? Yes. I could have just said yes then. Um, no, when I was a teenager, I had a girlfriend that was, like, older than me, that was an adult. Um, and, but that was, in my younger years. Uh, that's why with all these kids with the identifying as queer and everything, I'm like, "You know what? Us straights us straights are the original gays." Just saying. Us straights are the original gays. You know who's the original gay man? Straight men in the closet. So, no, but no, I am a straight person. I'm a straight person. Or as the kids call it, a cishet. A cishet is what I think they call me. Okay, you know what was so funny? Okay, so another one of these things that the kids are saying is the AFAB. AFAB. So, the funniest thing is I when I found out what AFAB meant, it's assigned female at birth. But you remember when Black Lives Matter protests were happening, people were saying ACAB, which means all caps are bastards. Um, which I never said that. I mean, you know, I would never say all anything except for poly people. No, I'm joking. um, but so so for some reason I kept seeing this word AFAB everywhere. I was like, what the hell? Who's a bastard? They can't be talking about firefighters. Firefighters are definitely not bastards. And I'm like, what does the F stand for? And I kept seeing AFAB everywhere, but I'm like, okay, well, if all cops are bastards, then who's the F? And then one day I realized apparently it's me. Apparently I'm an AFAB. I was shocked. I was shocked and in disbelief. And then I was like, now half of that shit that I read makes even less sense. Okay. Jamie says, okay, so I want to be poly with two males because they will get tired of me at different times and one can clean the house and the other one could work on stuff. And you only have to catch the in between. Listen, let me tell you, they ain't gonna clean that house and they ain't gonna work on shit. Okay. So no. If you want to be with two men, just have a threesome. Just have a threesome. There's nothing wrong with that. Thanks for explaining AFAB. I mean, thanks. I mean, I'm glad to share the knowledge. I'm glad to share the slang. um, we have a very interesting live tonight. I'm surprised I haven't got banned on TikTok for hate speech yet because um, TikTok is crazy with that. I usually get banned every time I go live. So, okay. Anyone with a next question? Someone asked on TikTok a little bit right before, said, "I'm confused. Are you bi?" Um, listen, I come from the generation of no labels, friend. And no, I would not. I would consider myself straight. Um, and this is the thing. Let's talk about the hypocrisy of this, okay? Everybody can identify the way that they want to, right? So people could identify as queer even if they've never been with the same gender and they're only in a straight relationship. So they can identify as queer. But what about the closeted straight men that don't identify as gay, but do those things? So it's interesting because then people will call out straight people for identifying as straight because they've done things outside of straightville. And but then at the same time, everybody can identify with what they want, right? Under this guise. So then who's to say that the straight people who are sleeping with other men are not straight if they can self-identify? That's where I think there's some hypocrisy in the situation. Straight, but you had a girlfriend when you were younger, you're 39 now. Exactly. Well, that's a thing too, is why the millennials, we're the ones responsible for fucking this stuff up. I mean, we're the ones who messed it up originally, because I mean, you guys don't know. You guys don't know. The Gen Z thinks that they came up with this, but y'all never heard the song All the Things She Said, All the Things She Said running through my head. Okay? Y'all never heard of Tattoo, the Russian pop duo that were bisexual, okay? That was a phenomenon. We all became bisexual when that song came out. I was like 12, okay? Um, so you don't know. There was already the bisexual era. This had already You listened to the song today? What a coincidence. Okay, so now, what a great question to get into. You're killing it today, Stella. You are the entertainment today. You are asking all the good questions. Okay, so why are some of the biggest teachers, or why were they celibate? Now, this is a great topic. This is where I'm at right now. Is I'm in my celibacy era. I've done it all, kids. I've done it all. Okay, and so the celibacy era that I do believe that it is. I think it's amazing. You know, I was not intentionally going celibate. I was just after a breakup was like, you know what? I don't want to date until I'm 100% ready, and I don't want to like have any situationships or anything like this, and I don't want to end up in this type of cheating situation again. So I'm going to take as long as I need. I didn't have a plan to then become celibate, but then over time, I really started to enjoy it because I felt that like the clarity, yes, exactly, plum blossom, that the clarity of everything. And so I think that the reason why a lot of mystics, teachers, gurus, leaders, stuff like that tend to be celibate is for clarity and spiritual cleanliness. Not that there's anything wrong with having sex, sex is a amazing, beautiful thing. But if it's happening in these other ways, which do what you got to do, get it out your system, no judgment. But with that removed from my life is when everything fell into place. I was like, "Oh, damn. I would have stopped having sex 10 years ago if I knew my life was going to all fall into place at once." So, then it was like the TikTok started, this started, all JK Ultra was born. All of this came. JK Ultra was my immaculate conception baby from being re-virginized. So with that, I just like felt like and it just gave me more and more space from it and more clarity, made it much clearer of what I wanted and what I didn't want. And also I didn't feel like kind of different ties or different things with people, and there's no drama, there's no nothing. I got almost nothing to be angry or pissed off about, you know? Um, so not saying that everybody needs to be celibate. I know in religious orders, they believe that it's part of the vessel staying pure because you do have energetic entanglements with people. But there's nothing wrong with not being. It's just we want to be more conscious that when it's being used in a way that is beautiful or, uh sacred and special and between people who love each other. And but that's for wherever you are in your journey, because there's also, not everybody's at that point in their journey. Now let me tell you why some people should be celibate, especially in the spiritual community. Some of these male teachers who I will not name, male figures talking about these topics in this space, their asses should go celibate because they have no self-control. And what happens is when you're in a position of authority, it becomes superiority into some of these men's heads. Could be women as well, but also like these female cult leaders are rarely doing sexual stuff. The male cult leaders, without a doubt, every time needs to be, it's a requirement. So what happens is they can't handle the temptation. They can't. They cannot have women looking up to them without trying to manipulate this energy, this sexual stuff. Oh, hold on. I have to validate my identity on TikTok. Okay, I'm back. So, I do think that that's also part of it is when you have a position of power and a position that people might even see you as an authority in a spiritual setting. That temptation of people throwing themselves at you could be distracting and dangerous to your mission and can also really poison the bigger message. No naming, no shaming. Oh, I'm shaming. Okay. Someone said, "Does celibate mean no masturbation?" So there's a lot of controversy around even if the word celibate is accurate. A lot of people say that you should say abstinence because celibate means like almost a vow and they mean in the future and of lifetime. I don't know if I agree with that, but people say that you should use abstinence. And then as far as masturbation, I think that's really going to be for each individual. There's a lot of practices for men that the semen retention and that men are able to like maybe like heighten their psychic powers by that. So that one is an individual process because I feel like the celibacy kind of involves another person. It would be like not involving other person. It's in reference to with outsiders. However, that's an individual thing and it's based on the reason why people are doing it. If they're doing it just because um general health and clarity, but if they're doing it for like the men that do the semen retention stuff, then for them there's a reason why they do it the way that they do. Hmm. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Love you. You introduced me to Dolores Cannon a couple years ago, and it has changed my life. Aw, thank you. Brenda says, for you, it empowers and heightens your energy levels and clarity. Yeah, I think everybody is going to have different reasons for doing it. Internal alchemy. It's a deep rabbit hole and secrets to the mysteries. Yes. And I feel more so for men. Um, More so for men, the you know, celibacy with no masturbation is something that very specifically men benefit from. Will you do any more story times? Sure. What stories do you want to hear? uh, I've got plenty of stories. What book changed your life? Journey of Souls. Journey of Souls changed my life. There's many books that I love, but Journey of Souls is the one that actually really changed my life because it made me stop comparing myself because I kind of thought like, why does this person have it so easy? Why does this person just get all this money from their parents and they get to just work on like their hobbies and their passions and I need to work and do all of this stuff on the side. And I was comparing myself to so many people in those ways, not necessarily like physical comparisons, but it was like the easiness in which things came to them. And people who had a lot more ease in their life. And now or after Journey of Souls, I was like, "Oh, I actually had more pride in my struggles and more pride in what I had experienced." Let's see. Did I ever get paid for the Netflix theft? No, I did not. I don't have a lawyer. And I don't think a lawyer wants to work for free for a small case like that. Um, so I don't know. I probably will not end up getting anything from it, but it was still fun to blast them on social media. You know what the double standard is with Netflix using my image and likeness? Is that on TikTok, me talking about that, uh, got that video demonetized. So what's so funny is me talking about Netflix stealing my image and likeness is demonetized from my TikTok. That's the double standard where they literally monetized off of me, but then I was demonetized on that specific video for talking about it, right? How ridiculous. Okay. But I think they said because I used, like, the stitch. I think that's why. Um, what is it like to have met Linda Moulton Howe multiple times? Oh, Linda is an icon. She is someone who, treats every person with, like, open-mindedness. So, you know, say, for example, like, sometimes people have, like, a crazy story. Sometimes people have a story that to me is not that believable. And I'm kind of like, okay, nice. Oh, cool. And I'll listen, I'll be nice. But with Linda, she's such a good journalist and so open-minded that she's going to listen to it with no judgments. If there's judgments, I'm sure there could be underneath, but she's not going to let anyone else do it, see that. And she's like, "You know what? She treats that person with respect. She listens to their story. She listens to the details. She asks questions." And that's one thing that I really love about her is that seeing her interact with people, she's so respectful to each person. Will you do any QHHT sessions on your friends and family and record it? Maybe. Uh, but you know, a lot of people, personal stuff comes up. So it's something that is a little difficult to do live. Even when I did the one with Sarah Brexman, that was me under regression, there was pulling back of information. Like I felt like I wasn't getting the full information on some answers because it's also for everybody watching, because that's the way that channeling works. And the same thing also happens with hypnosis and the subconscious mind. So, what's incredible, channeled messages, because the universe is all one, channeled messages already know everybody that message is for. Everybody, even if it's 20 years down the line, 40 years down the line. So, like, I've done a lot of work on, like, the Bringers of the Dawn book. That book was channeled in the 90s. However, the beings channeling it knew that us in 2024 would be receiving the information in that book. So when it comes to the hypnosis, it's a very similar thing. It already knows who the information is going to be heard by. So the information will be altered, not the truth will be altered, but the terminology, the expression, the amount of information, the way that it's presented is altered, or maybe not altered, presented in a way also for that audience, that so it changes it. Whereas when you do a one-on-one, the only audience is the practitioner and the person. So everything that needs to come out can come out because it is a fully safe place. You said, "I don't fully understand how people channel. I'm too logical and not tuned into feelings enough." So, um, to my understanding, there is an element of feelings with channeling, but it's actually the right side of the brain. So when you say you're too logical, that means your left brain is so active. So channeling is very similar to the hypnosis as well. So, we have our left side of the brain, which actually probably is on the wrong side of the screen, right? Because it's flipped. So like we have our left side of the brain that is all analytical and logical. And then we have this side that is where the memories are, where the pictures are, where the imagination is, where creativity is. And so if you can get your left brain to really get very, very backseat, if you can get your left brain to get in the back seat and get the right brain to take the front seat, you can receive information using that. So now with channeling, some people do trance channeling and some people do channeling where they just get the message and then repeat it. Um, I think some of the people are lying. I don't believe everybody that channels. Some people are flat out lying or crazy, you know? Um, but there's also a lot of channeling that is so on point. And like literally when you hear it, it feels like this is information that you've known your whole life, even though it's the first time you're hearing it. And it feels like it's unlocking something inside of you. So I'm a big believer of channeling. I just don't believe all channelers. And I also think some practitioners use channeling as a way to push their own beliefs. And then another thing with channeling is that sometimes you could be it everything goes through your own filter. So even with hypnosis, like say for example in Dolores's books, the main subject that she worked on was Phil. Now, Phil was someone who fixed radios and was like electronics guy in the 80s. And so like analog electronics guy and he was really good with that stuff. So when Phil was the subject in these things, sometimes the words that they would say were very specific to the information that was already in Phil's head. So they would kind of use like things that are in electronics. So it is always going through the filter of what that person's knowledge or what that person's terminology or words they have access to. So we always have to remember that when someone is channeling, it is also going through their filter. And not that they're purposely filtering it, it's that they have to work with what's available to that person, which is why, if you guys remember in my Apocalypse series, when they were doing the hypnosis that Nostradamus was coming through, Nostradamus was pissed off at Brenda, the first subject, because he felt that she wasn't intelligent enough for him to express himself. So he was frustrated with the fact that she didn't have a great vocabulary and that she didn't have a lot of diverse knowledge. So she was struggling to get some information and she was saying that like he's frustrated. And then in the next person that they worked with Phil for a little bit and then they worked with John the astrologer and those people as he worked with the others, he was like, "Oh, this is a much better subject. I have more information. I have more to work with here." That's how I feel about Bashar. At first, I thought he was insane, but the information pierces the soul, and is so true when you know it's real. Yeah, I agree with that. Like I said, I haven't really watched Bashar much. That he gets to his own filter. That Bashar has said that. I mean, it's so funny that like almost everything that I say and believe, people are like, Bashar said that. Um, so I'm definitely on the same page as Bashar. Mm, that I'm not gonna tell people who the Antichrist is, no. Especially not with what's going on in the world right now. It's obviously directly connected. Now, do I think that it's going to play out the way that Nostradamus said it would? I don't. I already think we're on a higher timeline. I already think that it's not gonna turn out as bad as what Nostradamus prophesized or what the Bible prophesized. I already think that we've shifted that timeline. I'm a big believer of that. However, obviously the situation that is happening right now in the Middle East is directly connected to some of those people that I believe were implicated by those prophecies and this specific issue. Yeah. You said it probably starts with an E and ends with an N. It is not Elon. um, uh, Let's see. What advice do you have for those who were successful before the shift and now see everything different? Um, hmm. I'm not fully sure I understand the question. So do you mean like someone who was like say very successful in like the 3D world and like made a lot of money in like a certain area of life and or had a lot of success in an area of life and now they find themselves wanting something more conscious, something more enlightened? That is actually something that so many people are, um, probably wondering because but I think that that's just part of their journey, and they needed that. For some of us, needed to not be successful before this energy started changing, because part of their journey was to, go through those things, and then later, they'll have a better thing. But same thing, some people are meant to have all this success and then shift. Let's see. So you meant scarcity mindset now. You're afraid of everything. You're so obsessed with enlightenment that you can't participate in the real world that made you who you were. Okay. So, um, if you're living in scarcity and fear, you're going to want to look at the source of it. Like, did something happen? If something happened that made you shift from feeling very comfortable and safe to then feeling scarcity and very scared, then that specific event needs some healing. So, a lot of times people talk about EMDR. I've never done EMDR, but I know a lot of people who've done it. And it seems to be a very effective therapy for people who have a specific event like that. Like, let's just say, for example, you had a company and you're making a lot of money, and then the company went bankrupt, and then now there's scarcity. So let's say that's just the example. The bankruptcy is the issue. So you're actually, if there is one specific event or one specific thing, then that is actually much easier to work with. Yes, EMDR, it stands for something like eye movement, something, you look it up. But it's basically similar to like a cognitive behavioral therapy, but it uses like lights and sounds to get your eyes and your attention moving while you're telling a very traumatic story. So, say you have a traumatic event in your life that really, a divorce, a death in the family, an illness that is now gone, but then you still feel afraid. EMDR is a great way to shift out of that, because what's happening is we know, oh, eye movement, desensitization, and reprocessing. Thank you, Margaret. So, if you know what the specific event is, that's like the most effective way to work through it. Because now it doesn't mean that everything is going to be reprocessed. Not that, you're going to be completely healed of everything. However, you can not have the emotional trigger of it. And, the body keeps the score. So that score is going to get leveled out again. So at least you know that you're not having a body response, that your muscles and your fascia is trying to respond to an event that happened. You said that helped me to get rid of childhood events that traumatized me. Exactly. So it's so great for something like that. Now, if you've switched to scarcity mindset, not because of an event, you were doing well, and then maybe let's say that this information of spirituality um, made you feel less certain in the world, then you might need to work on finding your purpose. You might need to work on being more aligned, because sometimes our body is communicating with us, or sometimes anxiety is communicating with us, or triggers, or having issues come up. Sometimes that's something that we need to um is like telling us, like, oh, you're supposed to be doing something else, or you're supposed to be living in a more fulfilling way. So I hope that that helps with either way that could be going. Okay, Ian wants to know, is anyone here going to the Contact in the Desert? It's coming up in like 10 days. JC asks, do I think that there will be a one world government and a one world currency soon? I don't know about soon. And I don't know how I feel about it. Because okay, we're still having this stuff with these two realities, right? Where we have a higher timeline and a lower timeline. We have the new world order or the new earth. So we have these two realities. However, this concept of a one world government is so much associated with the New World Order that people forget that the new Earth timeline is a global community as well. So the problem is whether it's self serving or service to the whole. Because now I don't think we're ready for a one world government anytime soon. If they do a one world government, we're fucked. We can't even figure out 149 governments of the world or whatever it is, right? We already can't figure out one government at a time that is only 149th of all of it. So, however, The higher timelines are a global community. So the way that I like to look at it is that there might be a one world government, but if it's service to the whole, if it's of service to consciousness, if it's of service to humanity, if it is service to self, if it is the same shit that's been going on in this world all these years, then that would be bad. That would be more on the New World Order timeline over the New Earth timeline. So I'm not super opposed to one day we could be a global community, but we can't rush into that because we are not ready. Um, oh, hey, Nikki. I was going to try to vend at Contact in the Desert, but I slept on it, I guess. Oh, maybe there's still time. Let's see. Shauna says, while not saying who it is about the Antichrist, um, has the opportunity for the Antichrist arrived? Okay. So, in these Antichrist prophecies, if you guys remember what we talked about, the Antichrist is the great peacekeeper. Remember? It wasn't this like hated person. It's someone who, in a time of troubles, steps up to the plate and says, "Oh, I have the solution." And then the solution actually works. And it actually first um, seems to be good. And it actually does initially have help. So, I mean, if you look at they say there was two antichrists before him, and he's the third, Napoleon and Hitler. Now, initially, before Hitler became, you know, the Hitler that we know, I think, in history, there was that short period of time when he first came in that he was helping Germany. This is how he built that trust in those people. So it's not going to be someone like a Trump or something like that that is so hated by so many. And of course, a lot of people love him, but the level that they talk about is that this is the great peacekeeper. So this person has the opportunity to rise into that position because right now, the region of the planet that that person lives in is about this far from Israel and Palestine. Okay. So he has a great opportunity to actually make peace in the Middle East. And yeah, so and that's why in the prophecies they say that no one's going to believe he's the Antichrist because he's done good. And only a small group of people will see that. So, yeah, let's see. Let's see. Okay, Fairies is saying, I'm really struggling here for a long time, spiritually and now life in general. I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing. I just feel like it's not what I'm currently doing. I feel like I missed the boat. I'm starting to see a therapist in June and I don't know what to do anymore. With that, so of all the times that I have done the hypnosis on people, no one is ever super, super, super shocked by the information that comes through. So, with that, like basically, it's stuff that we already know that we've doubted ourselves on a lot of times, is what comes up. So, what you really should focus on is trusting yourself. Trust yourself, trust your intuition, trust what you want to do. Like, say you've always kind of had an interest for painting or art in this way. So lean into it. Don't doubt it. Don't think like, can I make money doing this? Well, maybe if I can't, or maybe I won't be able to, maybe I shouldn't do it. Because what you're doing is you're just splitting that fork in the road to all of these uncertain timelines. The path that is for you is the one that you walk on with certainty. And when you walk on the path with certainty, even if you're wrong, you're still right. So the biggest thing is you have to be really careful to doubt yourself because doubting yourself is one of the worst things that you can do. And I would say that every time I've seen people go under hypnosis, the biggest thing is like, "Oh, damn, I kind of already knew that." When they get up, they're like, "Huh, a part of me always felt that way. And I always thought I was crazy, or I dismissed it, or I let people talk me out of it." And so the uncertainty is coming from like other things, but all of us already know. And there's not this big reveal of what you're supposed to be doing. Because, like I said, whenever people are under hypnosis and say, "What is my purpose?" Their purpose is always so simple, like literally to be. And it's to be this or to this. It's never like, "Oh, your purpose." Well, I mean, the Antichrist purpose, right, is to bring on the apocalypse, to then bring on the new earth, to then bring on the higher timeline. So, I mean, the Antichrist has a big ass purpose. But most of us here have just a small part of this grand purpose that is existing out there. And sometimes it's really just like, that's my problem. I have no interest anymore. And that's what's scaring me. I lost my spark. And that's what it feels like, apathy. Well, there's also stages and waves, you know? So one of the biggest things that we talk about in, everything that I do, which is, from my moon book, which you guys know. Okay. So, as you guys know, I made the moon book, and the whole concept of the moon book is that over here, moon book. And so the whole concept of the moon book is about how our bodies are mimicking nature. Nature has 4 seasons. There's 4 alchemical states. There's 4 on the indigenous medicine wheel. This 4 pillars, because everything, a table has 4 things. So there's 4 stages. The moon has 4 stages, 4 elements. So this process, we're not going to be always feeling the same, because sometimes it's winter, sometimes it's spring, sometimes it's summer, and sometimes it's autumn. And that's even happening inside of our body, especially as women. It happens every 28 days. And um that part of, let's say, like when, the your period is starting, like that's winter. That's winter. But right before that, your PMS week, that's autumn, because all the stuff is dying, right? Because you were supposed to get, or by like nature, that you were supposed to get pregnant at the ovulation. And when the ovulation pregnancy doesn't happen, all of that uterine lining that was going to hold the baby is like, okay, goodbye, let's go. And that's the leaves falling off the tree. So sometimes you're going to be in the time where the leaves are falling off the tree. And if you saw leaves falling off the tree and you had never seen seasons change, you might think like, "Oh my god, everything's dying." But because we know that spring will come again, we're not afraid when we see the trees start to die. We think, "Oh, wow, how beautiful. The leaves are changing colors. Oh my God, the leaves are falling on the ground." But this is death. This is a death process. This is dark and crazy by our perception. But because we know for a fact that spring will be there, we see it as beautiful. So that's something for you to remember when you're feeling um, off or down or not well, because you know that there's autumn. And sometimes after autumn, then, always after autumn, you're going to have winter. And winter is dark. Winter is heavy. Winter is cold and lonely and less bright. However, things happen in the winter. We come up with ideas. We do all of this stuff in winter. But when spring comes, it will come. So that's something for people to always remember, is when you're feeling a bit depressed or apathetic, it feels like you're never going to get out of it. And it doesn't feel like you. You say, "This doesn't feel like me." But you know what? When the tree is dying, and then when the tree is in the snow with no leaves, the tree probably doesn't feel like itself either. So remember that when you're in these low periods, nature goes through this all the time, but that tree knows how beautiful it is when it's fully blossomed. That tree knows that There's gonna be full of, birds and nests and life and birth happening in it soon. Okay, let's see. Any others? Oh, you said you just got your mom to follow you on TikTok. Thanks for posting your work. Aw, you're so sweet. Let's see. Beautiful idea. Does the Antichrist know he's the Antichrist? According to the Nostradamus, Dolores Cannon work, uh, he was not always the Antichrist. The way that it was described is that another being came into him, that it wasn't really possession. It was similar to a walk in situation where the original soul is going to leave and another soul comes in the body. So he wouldn't know before that, really. And then when that other situation happens, then he would. Now that's assuming that, all of that is happening and the Nostradamus prophecies are right, but that's just what it says. Let's see. Um let's see. Winter is beautiful in its own way. I always think of it as taking a step back and really being present like watching the snow. What's interesting now that we're talking about it? I don't like winter. Okay? I don't like snow. Uh mm-mm. I don't want to be cold. I don't want to be wet. I don't wanna have more difficulty getting from point A to point B. However, no, now I realize that I've done this really deep shadow work over the last, couple months. I moved, away from the season changes. I like to stay in the spring, summer all year round like it is here in LA, and I realize now after my shadow work, part of the reason that I was running away from winter is the same way I was running away from those darker emotions, from those lower emotions, from that I didn't want to experience all of those things. So that was interesting too, is I realized that even in my physical reality, I removed myself from that aspect of this nature's process. I think I may be a star seed. Any way to find out for sure? Um, So there's different ways. One way that you could find out, is QHHT hypnosis. You could go under hypnosis and ask. I have had a friend ask if they were a star seed, and the answer was, "Aren't we all? Don't we all come from stardust?" That was the answer that she got under hypnosis. So it depends. Sometimes you could do it with a reading. Um, I'm gonna be honest with you. There's a lot of people who do these, like, starseed readings, and they'll, like, tell you what your starseed, origin is and stuff, and I feel like those people are wrong. I feel like those people are wrong. Um, like, I don't think that they can always tell. Sometimes you can know through the Akashic records, so I feel like if you feel that you are, and you feel very drawn to it, and then you look, into the different types, you could resonate with that, and there's nothing wrong with resonating with it. And let's say that you resonate with Arcturians, but you're actually a Pleiadian in another life, that's okay. There's a reason why you're getting interested in the things you are. Oh, thanks, Pam. That's a cool gift. Um, let's see. Oh, fairies. You said you don't have a community. Well, one of the things that you could do is, find any type of events in your area or, maybe sometimes there's like, you know, a book signing or a spiritual crystal shop is having a class or something. Like those are good places to find like-minded people. But also too, sometimes you're just in a bit of a hermit stage because then let's look at the tarot, right? The tarot has this same type of process as well. And halfway through, it'll probably be easier to find just in the tarot book. So you guys know I also made my domestic tarot book. But you see, it follows the same alchemical process of everything, the same process of nature, the the same process that exists. So, you start as the fool, become the magician, you go through these different types of mastery, you cross into the next threshold with strength. And then after you cross through this threshold, you come here to the hermit. It is part of every single hero's journey. So every single hero's journey has the hermit. It is an essential part of the process. So sometimes just understanding it's a season of life and that you will have more opportunities to meet other people, because then after that is the Wheel of Fortune and then the Justice card. So the Wheel of Fortune is fate, karma, destiny, change of events, great fortune. So with that, sometimes after that hermit stage, that's where the karma comes in. That's where, and not karma in a bad way. We use karma in a bad way, but sometimes you have karmic benefits to reap as well, karmic friendships to come into your life. So sometimes those things are what's after the stage. What book is that? This is the Domestic Tarot Workbook. It breaks down the tarot. And you guys should go watch my videos on TikTok because I used this book. Oh, sorry, I hit the mic. I probably deafened everybody on here. So with the Domestic Tarot Workbook that I did, sorry, this is my sample copy. I don't know why I don't have a prettier copy here. So with this, if you go to my TikTok videos, which got not that many views, but they were rocking. They were some of my favorite videos I ever made. I used the tarot to retell The Matrix, to retell Alice in Wonderland, and to retell The Truman Show. And I used this hero's journey in this book, breaking it down, to show how all of these movies are telling the exact same story. So, what's cool about this domestic tarot workbook is just to give you a little book tour, okay? So it kind of teaches you the basics of the cards, about different ways that you can shuffle, different ways to select cards, different etiquette with the cards. Then we talk about the origin of the deck and then the Fool's Journey. And then what you guys just saw, we go through the Fool's Journey. Then we go through the suits. And then look, so this is everything about Pentacles. I'll come over here so both can see it. Everything about Pentacles, everything about Cups. So why are so many Pentacles coming up in my readings? Why are no Pentacles coming up in my readings? What areas of life is this? If you wanted to do playing cards instead of tarot, let's say you really need some advice and you just got playing cards instead of tarot cards. Okay, well, Pentacles are the diamonds, the cups are the hearts. So we go through the suits, all breaking those down. And then we go through the numerology of it. So these are the basics of numerology. So if you want to learn every single card, you can. But if you're just starting and you want to just get a feel for it and start to remember and start to kind of quiz yourself, then you really only need to learn 1 through 10 of numerology. Basics, guys, like simplified. So like 1, the ace is a new beginning. 2 is about balance in some way. 3 is about growth. Again, these are things that are always happening. 4 is about stability. Remember, I told you 4 is the 4 pillars. That's why tables and chairs have 4 legs. That's about stability. Conflict is 5. Harmony, 6. 7, obstacles. 8, strength. 9, fruition. And 10, completion. It makes perfect sense. So that way, when you're learning, you don't need to know every single card. You can just learn what different numbers mean. But then next, it has all the individual meanings of the card numbers, both upright and reversed, and for all the suits. Then we have the court cards. Now, the court cards can get very advanced. This book is um uh the foundation. I do suggest there is very advanced information on the court cards, but that is like really going in. This is for foundational information to like really get the foundation of understanding tarot. The pages. So, like with the pages, that's really interesting. Let's see if I could have one here. Okay. So, the pages back in the day, they were messengers. So, the pages are all standing because when you were a messenger back in the day, they ran, there was no cars, so that's why they're standing. Then we have the knights. The knights are all on horses because that's part of their role. That's why most of them are charging. Then we have the queen and the kings, and then we go into the symbolism. Now, every single thing is symbolic in a card. So we see in this card different colors. Each one of these colors means something. So we can look at a card and know, what does number 6 mean? Okay. What does number 6 mean? Okay. So if I know what number 6 means, harmony. Okay. And then I see what's happening here, and I see that he has a bunch of leaves and greens, and he's working towards something. We also see that he's holding a wand. So there is a connection to the element of wands here. So then, even if you don't know the meaning and you want to learn and test yourself so that you can memorize them, then you can just start learning what the symbols mean. So, say, for example, he's wearing some blue. So, blue, imagination, inspiration, and introspection. So, you can understand all of these different oh, why am I saying 6? It's 7. Why, this is why I was like looking at this card and I'm like, why am I saying 6? This is 7. Okay. But still, this is why too. Like imagination, inspiration, introspection is what blue represents in tarot. So look at this. He is being introspective. We do see that. So then this is the astrology aspects of it. And then you get to practice with 3 card readings as much as you want. Okay. There was the thing, my little explanation of the book. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. Any other questions here? George Noory is great. But he could not get the name of your tarot book quite right. Yeah, I know. Especially because I spelled it that way too. What book is it? It is called Diary of Domestic Tarot. It is in my bio, linked in my bio. And also watch my most recent couple of videos about it because I broke down so much cool stuff from that the book. And it's on Amazon. It's like $20 and it's a great easy workbook for you to be able to. So then, you do a 3-card reading. And then you could flip forward for some resources or write it in yourself and test yourself. Okay, let's see. Oh, thank you, Barbara. John says, I'd like to believe it's possible to make friends. It's been my experience that there's family and everyone else is a stranger. Friends turn into acquaintances and eventually strangers again. Okay. Well, so with that, there could everybody has different paths, and it is amazing to have family. A lot of people who have friends, a lot of friends don't have family. So sometimes people have to make their own family and friends, and it pushes them to do it more. So, first, we want to be grateful for the community that we have available, family. But also, if you believe this, it is harder to see it in your reality. So, one thing that is really good to kind of start breaking a belief like that is you could use affirmations about that. Like, say affirmations about friends. Like, let's see. Let's see. I'll pull up an example. Let's do to Chat GPT. Can you write 5 affirmations for making more friends? Okay. Here's 5 examples of you could say these every day, and every single day you'll be reprogramming your matrix. So here we go. I am open to meeting new people and forming meaningful relationships. I am open to meeting new people and forming meaningful relationships. I attract positive and genuine friendships into my life. Say it with me. I attract positive and genuine friendships into my life. I am confident and approachable, making it easy for others to get to know me. I am confident and approachable, making it easy for others to get to know me. I enjoy social interactions and build strong, lasting friendships effortlessly. I enjoy strong I enjoy social interactions and build strong, lasting friendships effortlessly. 5, I am surrounded by people who appreciate and support me for who I am. I am surrounded by people who appreciate and support me for who I am. Affirmations are such a good tool to start programming yourself to believe something different. You said, sorry, you're not ready to come out. You're still in your hermit part of your journey. Nothing wrong with that. Aw, you said you just bought the tarot book for you and your daughter. How did I get into tarot? Um, it kind of just started to always be around. Um, and then I got this deck. I've had this deck for a really long time. Um, the first time I didn't want the regular deck because I was like, I didn't resonate with a lot of the symbols at the time. Like there's a lot of like hermetic symbols and different stuff and I just wasn't really resonating with it, so I got a different type of deck. So a different type of deck is a great place to start if you're like not comfortable with the original. However, I do believe that the original is the best way to go because it's just so beautiful and amazing. Um but yeah, it kind of was just there. You guys, do you hear you may or may not hear it in the mic. My upstairs neighbor is crashing down, crashing down. Okay. I feel like it's personal at this point. Okay, let's see. And you know what's funny about it? My downstairs neighbor came up to complain about me. And I really don't be doing all that. I do not do all of that. And I told him, I'm like, look, I'll try, but I'm living here. We're all living. What am I gonna tell this person they're not allowed to walk in their own home? Okay. Oh, cool. Oh, thank you for the super chat. I've been feeling the astral plane very active since the eclipse. Beings from other dimensions, particularly in dreams. Have you had any experience related to this lately? I feel that since that eclipse, um, so much has shifted and changed. Like in so many ways. And I feel like a lot of stuff is coming up for people. So maybe for you, because you've already done this work, that you're getting more in the astral. But some other people were going through like shadow work during the eclipse. Other people are kind of in delusion right now during the eclipse. And some other people, the delusions are wiping away. So I feel like it's not one specific energy that is happening from the eclipse, that we're all kind of dealing with like what we need to be going through right now. But I do feel like it's very intense. Jen, can you tell us your astrology? Rising moon, sun, Venus, Mercury, and Mars. Okay. There we are. Is I'll leave it up here. It is my sun in Leo. Leo. Um, Rising is Scorpio. Moon is Libra. My Venus is in Cancer. My Mars is in Aries. And my Mercury is in Virgo. They're in your walls, I know. Oh, right. You felt really drained since the eclipse and then felt a lift after the auroras. Oh, yeah, well, then that too, the auroras were crazy electrical storm stuff too. Okay, let's see. I'll probably take like 1 or 2 more questions. Oh, also, before I go, if you guys are members of the Substack, paid members of the Substack, sorry if you're a free member that I have not been posting enough and sharing enough. I have a couple of worksheets that I want to work on, but honestly, guys, I went through hell and back after that shadow work. So I was literally just skating by, and I'm trying to get everything back in order. And I have, a list of everything that's on my plate right now so that I can have a better understanding of everything I need to do. But if you are a paid subscriber for Substack, this coming Sunday, which is what day? The 26th. Sunday, the 26th, we're having our monthly live event. And I know that since you guys, some of the paid subscribers, because you can watch the replay, you can watch it whenever, although it is fun to come live. So for um, this month, our live event is going to be about the healing vortex. So, what we're going to do is use Marissa Peer's hypnosis method of the healing vortex. Now, this is not similar to Dolores Cannon's hypnosis. This is more so like a very deep guided meditation. So, it's different than the type of hypnosis we've been talking about throughout this. This is very deep guided meditation and reprogramming. So we're going to be doing the healing vortex, and this is was created by Marissa Peer, who I love her work, and it basically does. We work on a healing vortex, and we move it through the body, we move it through the brain to work with anything in the mind that needs some help, and then we move down through this, and we move that through the body. So it's kind of like an energetic cleansing for yourself. And as you know, when we do these live events, I usually do the second half is a meditation hypnosis, and the first half is setting the foundation for the information. So, the first half, because we're talking about the healing vortex, the first half, we're going to talk about how Louise Hay's work and also Julia Cannon's work. And you said you're manifesting being a paid sub. Well, which is great because whenever someone becomes a paid Substack subscriber, they get access to all the replays. So whenever you join, you'll have 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 by the time it happens. I think right now this will be like our 6th event. So right now there's going to be when you join, there's going to be other ones for you to do. So there's one that's a past life regression, one that's a future regression, progression, one that's meeting your guides, one that's talking about doing the Silva method. That one we didn't do a meditation together, and that was because I was deep in my shadow work at that time and I didn't want to hold an energetic space in that way because I think that's irresponsible because I was not really cleansed. That's the reason why I sent everyone the links to go and listen to meditations that are specifically recorded for that topic because I didn't want to open up a spiritual space that I was not responsibly able to be doing. Because a lot of times, healers and spiritual practitioners, they still need to do what they need to do. That was still an obligation that I had to do, but I was not in the state to be doing it, which is why I didn't open up that space. However, other people I see that when they're not doing well, they'll still be opening up and holding a space for people when you're really not able to create a safe space. But then, after I felt on the other side of it, the one that we just did was great, which was did we do the meet your guides last? I think. And then this one will be the healing vortex. And in the beginning, we're going to talk about how thoughts, beliefs, and things like that can actually affect our health. And we're going to go through different parts of the body. And um, anyone who's there, we can look up what yours means. Oh, fairies, you just paid to this, switch to the paid membership. Cool. So in your free time, you need to go and check on those things and do the replays because they're so good. Um, You said, "I love the progression hypnosis. I was just telling someone about it today." And then I saw Sandra here on TikTok say that she really enjoyed the last class. Cool. You guys, you're so sweet. Um, how do I join? It's on my Substack. So if you go to jennifercarmody.substack.com, it'll be linked here on the YouTube below. And then also it's linked on my link in my bio on TikTok. So you said, oh, you're reading from two different groups. Yeah, that's so I'm doing TikTok and YouTube at the same time. So that's why I keep looking at both. Um, You already started going through them. Oh, cool. So you know what I think would be good for you, fairies, right now? If you did the future self meditation. I think that was one of the first ones, was the future self meditation. Oh, and so everybody, even paid subscribers, I mean, even free subscribers, there is an inner child exercise on there. So last year I did an event which was an inner child healing, and it was also based on Marissa Peer's work. And what I did was, because I was going through my shadow work with my inner child, I took the recording from last year and I posted it in the free section. So you'll be able to find that on the Substack as well. And I also post uh personal stuff as well on there. Personal stuff that I think is either interesting or healing, not just like, hey, got a coffee today. Like, no, like my shadow work journey with people dealing with possession, stuff like that, that is like personal. Um, so even if you're a free subscriber, there is stuff available on there for you. Especially that one child healing, inner child healing class was really good. Let's see. So okay, a bunch of people have asked, what do I think about, Terrence Howard? Is that who? Yeah, Terrence Howard. I haven't watched it. I will. Everybody's freaking out about it. Um, I'll see. What is he saying? I don't know. I did see a video a couple months ago where everyone's like, "Wow, this is brilliant." And I was kinda like, well, it was something about like 1 times 1 is this, but then 1 times 2 is this. So then and it was like, yeah, but 1 times 1 is 1 because it's 1 time. 1 times 2 is this because it's 2 1 time, or 1 2 times, like, so I don't know. I am so because, like, when I people sent me these other clips where they were like, "Whoa, groundbreaking," and then I watched it and I was like, "But what he's saying sounds cool, but if you slow down and know what 1 times 1 means, then, okay." So, I don't know, I think I was a little bit, not interested in watching this Terrence Howard, interview. However, everybody is like, "You gotta watch it, man, it's so good." So maybe I'll watch it tonight, and, I hope to be very pleasantly surprised, because I would love to, have, like, a 3-hour knowledge bomb. That would be good. So I'm open to listening to it and seeing what he has to say. Does Substack allow for more topic discussion similar to Discord? So there is chat. There is a chat, and then there's like a chat section in the app, and then there's also the comments. Um, but I think, it's still kind of, because like a lot of my audience came from social media, it's still like not super inherent to be over there communicating. Um, but it is building that community, and I really do wanna, like, focus hard on the Substack, because I want to build it into what I really want it to be, which is, like, this great resource for all of these different modalities and stuff like that. Yeah, whoa, new basic maths. That's how I felt when people were talking when I saw that one clip of Terrence Howard months ago, and I was like, This isn't genius. But we'll see. If you see the visual of what he is saying and you can check out his other stuff, it makes more sense. What time this Sunday? So it's going to be the class is at noon Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern. And then if you click on the actual last post on Substack, the one that's telling the information, I have, the UK time zone, which I think is 8 p.m., the Central Europe time, which is 9 p.m. And then I have also like South Africa time, India time zone, and then Australia time zones. So I tried to pick like where my subscribers are from and tried to put all of those those time zones, but I could only pick like the ones that are more popular. Oh, thanks, Ian. Your Substack is awesome content. Thank you. Can you do a tarot poll tonight? Sure, let's do one, but let's do it with we're going to do it with this deck, and then I'll go after this. This will be our closing. You said you definitely think Terrence is a starseed from Sirius by the way he talks about the periodic table. So when do you go live usually? I go live every Tuesday night on YouTube, and then sometimes I go as well on TikTok. I was trying to also do Instagram today, but it just wouldn't work. And I paid like $300 for the StreamYard app so that I could do it, and that does not work. So it is what it is. Okay. So your Substack is where? Linktree, new user here. So if you go to the link in my bio, it says Beacons AI /JK Ultra. I have a whole list of different things that are available. And there's a lot of different places for you to click on the Substack of different things in the Substack. So, but you will see the Substack on there. And ooh, what card popped out for us? Oh, guys, the koi fish. The good luck for the koi fish, number 18. Okay, so what is this message for us right now? Let's see. Good luck. Ooh, prosperity, blessings, and good fortune. Good fortune has arrived because of your indomitable spirit. Good fortune smiles upon you and grants you access to the highest wisdom of many blessings on the journey ahead. Well, now let's take one from, ooh, one popped out again. Ooh, you guys, it's the death card. The death card. So let's see. We have good luck and prosperity, but then what is the rest of the message for us before we go today? Let's see. Card number 24. Let's see. Okay, the skull. Death. There comes a time when all things must end. This live, you guys. There comes a time when all things must end. We can let things go willingly or unwillingly. While this can bring a sadness or a sense of loss, the death of a relationship, job, former identity, or an idea is also the signal of new beginnings. When we give death dignity, we can give grace to the new beginnings. So celebrate and give reverence to death because without it, there is no birth and new beginning. So that's beautiful, guys, because the theme that has come up a lot tonight is like people asking how to forgive, people asking, how do I get out of this hermit mode? How do I, all of these different things that like people want to kind of step out of. So the good luck is coming and the cycle is ending. And now also what I talked about with like my shadow work journey is that, that was like death. It really was. But the freedom of being able to live your life without those underlying things. Like, it's like the Tool song, Sober, where they talk about, they say one of the lyrics is, uh, something like a stalking butler. A stalking butler. That's what it feels like. These shadows in us, these insecurities, self-worth wounds, stuff like this is like a stalking butler. It's there all the time. What do you need now? Are you okay? Can I get you something? Can I get you something to feel a little better? Oh, let's relieve you, sir. Like a stalking butler. So like at first, it's nice to have that butler like, you know, saying, "Hey, do you need a massage? You need a back rub? You need some water? You need this? I'll cook a meal for you." But then it's like you never even really have that moment to truly feel, to truly process and understand things on your own. So it is like a stalking butler. Okay. And we'll do our final card from my favorite deck, the Sacred Symbols Oracle deck by Marcella Kroll. You said, hate to say it, but your shadow work journey is far from over. Well, I mean, that goes without saying. It's a lifelong journey, right? What I've been saying is that I had the hardest 3 months of my life that I've ever had. Um, and that time is over. So I'm not one of these people who says, uh, I'm done healing. I can now teach and heal everybody else. No, I mean, it's definitely a lifelong journey, but a lot of these things that is real shadow work, stuff that was really unaware to me, like truly unaware. I literally saw a demon on my shoulder. It was fucked up. And I went through 3 months of absolute hell. So, when I say the shadow work journey, I don't mean that, there's nothing left. I just mean that, like, this stage has progressed. I've gone through the winter and I'm back in the spring. You said you didn't mean it to be snarky, you just giving a heads up. Yeah, yeah, no, I definitely didn't think that, I was cured for the rest of my life of everything. Oh, look, guys, the soulmate card. The soulmate card. So for some of you guys who've been asking about some of you guys who've been asking about friendships and connections and feeling like you need more community, I feel that this is the confirmation. A significant partnership, soul connection, and meeting of kindred spirits. Drawing this card means that you have met soul connected people. While this can indicate a romantic connection, it can also signify any relationship that is meant to work together on a soul level. This partnership is special. Learn from each other, be good to each other, and be in gratitude for the connection. Even our perceived adversaries are profound soulmate connections. You can always draw another card for clarity around the purpose of this connection. And this symbol is an old Gaelic symbol for soul friend. So I feel like, you know what? This was the confirmation that everybody needed today was, dealing with all of these different topics that were coming up, which was um, moving through stuff, building a better community, and knowing that these better times are coming. Must be why the death card came before it, right? Right? Exactly. Um, we had the good luck card, the death card, and then the soulmate card. So it was pretty balanced, right? That is literally, well, now we got to pull a fourth one, right? Because I kept saying that 4 is the stability. Okay, we need 4. Okay, the last one so that we can have a full, all 4 legs of the table. Okay, so we have a real foundation to stand on. The fourth card, because how could I only do 3 when I've been talking about 4 all day? Okay, let's see. Okay. Well, waiting like a stalking butler. Yeah, why could I not think of that? These cards were perfect. Yes. Okay. May the spirits guide you. The pocket deck. I know it's so little that it's kind of a little bit hard to shuffle because it's so tiny. I got the little mini version. Okay. Oh, all right. Let's do this one. Oh, you guys, look. Beautiful. An eagle. The eagle totem. The eagle totem. This is our the fourth pillar that we needed for the stability of the message. And, that's what it is, that we did that 4 cycle, right? Okay. You guys ever watch those, like, pick a cards on YouTube? Sometimes they're so amazing. I have a couple people that I love for the pick a cards. I love Aphrodite. I love Energy. Those are my 2 go-tos. Oops. Those are my 2 go-tos for pick a cards on YouTube. But then there's, like, this other girl, she's very popular, but, like, honestly, she will be saying the craziest nonsense I've ever heard. Like, one time she was, like, had one of the cards from this deck, and she's like, "Oh, there's a baby on the way, but it's wrapped in a snake." And I was like, "Girl, I literally know what that card means. Stop. You're lying right now." Okay. The eagle, all pervading power, truth seeker, and transforming karma. The noble evil, the noble eagle emanates the light of the sun. This great bird is both physically and spiritually strong and represents mastery over the elements of fire and air. When the eagle appears, you'll soon be thrown into the karmic fire for the sake of your transformation. The eagle pushes us to be our best and brightest selves and to stop at nothing to see us shine. Grasp the sun with your talons and hold on for the ride. You are stronger than you think, eagle child. When in balance, radiant and challenges. When out of balance, controlling. To bring into balance, step into the unknown. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Which really goes back to what we said the whole time about the 4 seasons, right? We go through those 4 seasons, that 4, you know? And with that, my friends, if you want, you could check out these decks by Marcella Kroll. Marcella Kroll, she's got some amazing decks. I also have her Roast Iconic deck here. These are some of my favorites. This is the Pocket Animal Spirit deck. They also have the full size one, which is more popular, a little easier to shuffle, but I think these are cute. I like that it's in a tin. And then too, guys, this Get the Domestic Tarot book because yeah, not only did I make it. Oh, and one more. Get the Moon book, which I also made. Oh, and wait. Here, let's do a little promo for friends. Um, Piper CJ's new book, right? The Deer and the Dragon. This is fiction. It's like a fantasy romance novel, but also combined with um demons, deities, and things like that. So and look at this. I got the one with the teal sprayed edges. I don't think you're going to be able to get that. It was limited edition. But how cool is that? And then Piper wrote a little message for me in there. So check out her book if you like to read fiction and fantasy and romance novels, especially, the topics we talked about today. It's a bisexual romance novel. So, and then Marco J. Williams, our wonderful friend over here on TikTok, How to Listen to the Universe by Marco J. Williams. And this is a book of his etheric downloads and beautiful. So go support him. And he also wrote me a very beautiful message inside. So you guys support the creators that you like on social media because they're doing a way better job than Netflix and all of these assholes anyway, who are stealing my image and likeness. Okay. So there we go, guys. That's it for the Tuesday Night Live. We did a long one today. Oh, thanks. Cool. The eagle brings the message of renewed life because it is associated with the east winds, the direction of spring, dawn, and rebirth. Oh, wow. Oh, and it is the chief of all winged creatures. The eagle conveys the powers and messages of the spirit. It is man's connection to the divine because it flies higher than any other bird. Oh, beautiful. Thank you, Ian, for that. This has been so much fun. Thank you, everybody. Like the live on YouTube if you enjoyed this. and maybe see you guys over on Substack. If you are, Sunday afternoon, we are doing our class at noon. We're going to be doing the Healing Vortex meditation, which is going to be reprogramming your brain and showing you how to do it. You'll have the recording forever if you're a paid, well, as long as you're a paid subscriber, you'll have the recording and you can always go back to it, do it again. So, say you do it on Sunday, but then in 2 weeks, you're not feeling too great, go back and do the healing vortex whenever you need to. So, it's good to have those things available. And like I said, in the first half of the class, we're going to be talking about the body in the sense of like, what are certain illnesses? What are they related to? Because all illnesses are related to thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and not to say that just emotions and beliefs and stuff can just cure everything, because sometimes things are far gone and you do need Western medical treatment for some things. However, finding the origin, like let's say, for example, you have an issue that is being caused by thoughts, and then you take medication or get surgery for it. It might come back if you don't change those thoughts. So I'm not saying it's a replacement, because in some cases you do need medical treatment, but you need to still change those thoughts, because what if it comes back? What if you create it again? How can you sign up for the class? Is it still possible? Oh, yes. In my link in my bio, it's jennifercarmody.substack.com. If you go to the link, there's different places where you can click on the Substack and become a member. Free members have access to all the posts except for the live classes and the replays of the live classes. But there is one inner child healing available for the free subscribers, if you go through and look at that. And then the paid subscribers, you'll be able to come live or have access to the recording. And then there's other recordings there. There's the Dolores Cannon. We did a past life regression. We did a future life progression. We did a future self meditation. And then we did Meet Your Guides, which those were Dolores Cannon's exact scripts that she used with groups. So you have a lot of different fun things to do if you become a paid subscriber, and you can do these like little 2-hour classes whenever you need them. And you can always go back and do the past life regression again, or meet your guides again, or do the future self meditation. If you guys are uncertain about where you are right now, like some people had expressed, doing a future self meditation and seeing yourself 5 years in the future and being able to get a little bit of advice from your future self, wonderful. It is so helpful to be able to just see, actually, I'll leave on this because all the batteries are about to die. The batteries are about to die. So, when I did, there was a Dolores Cannon recording, like she did these like long seminars. They're like 3-hour videos on YouTube. I was watching one of them, and at the end, she did a group, moving the group 5 years into the future. Oh, no, no. She moved the group into a specific project or a specific thing, something specific that you want future advice on. And I picked my book, and this was about 4 years ago, maybe. And I did this, and I saw my book in the future, and it was published, and I'm like, how the fuck am I gonna do that? And here I am. My book is coming out next year. It was true what I saw in that little boost into the future. So, thank you, everybody. So much love. Thank you for your support. And see you guys on Sunday if you're going to be at the class. And then if not, I will see you guys next Tuesday. Okay, guys. Bye. Love you. Okay. Bye, everybody here on TikTok. My phone's about to die. Have a great night. Oh, the stream wasn't ended. How do I end it?